Changing your life is actually the easy part. What nobody talks about is what happens after. You know, like, what do you do when the routine is locked in? You have your habits, consistency finally feels easy or at least doable. And life looks right. The thing is, a lot of people still feel off even when they've actually achieved their goals. And I don't think that this is because they're ungrateful or they don't realize how much they actually did, but it's because we keep raising the bar. Like, we do a lot and then we want to do more. We achieve all of our goals and then we want to achieve more. Because, and I think on some level this can be healthy because it gives your life purpose. There is a meaning behind it. Striving towards something is honestly a good feeling sometimes. Trying to figure things out, trying to change stuff makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, there's something to live for. There's something to do. But it can feel weirdly unfulfilling to reach your goals. Like you do everything you said you would do, and then you're still like, okay, and what now? And honestly, that's not failure. It's just a part that comes after the very fancy and very impressive sounding montage of like, I changed my life in 6 months and this is how I did it. I did this. I got a new job. I started a new degree. I got so many friends. I became so confident. And like, what happened after? This is what this video is about. So hi, I'm Maria. Maybe you know me from the video I changed my life in 6 months, and you can too. And while I wholeheartedly still believe in that statement, I think that video showed a very, very small part of the story. And in some way, I also think it's not fully aligned with myself anymore. In case you haven't watched the video or need a little refresher, feel free to watch the video. All I can say is back when I did that video, I went through a season of change. I had literally just graduated a bachelor's in nutritional science, and I had managed somehow to get into an economics master. I did this by actually doing a bunch of courses in economics while actually still being registered for nutritional science. So basically I did 40 credits more in economics, which is basically a whole semester worth of credits while still studying nutritional science. Also, I somehow got a job. Before that, I was going through a very stressful period of my life where I realized that the food industry here where I studied is not very well developed in the sense that they don't take a lot of interns, they don't take a lot of entry-level people, they take a lot of specialized people, but like, where can I work with my nutritional science degree? And that stressed me out. Honestly, this was fate. I randomly got offered a job and I was ecstatic. I was so happy. My life was changing. I had finally also figured out how to like work out consistently. I had been doing a lot of self-development, reading all of the books, watching all of the videos, waking up at 5 a.m. journaling. I had been doing all that for the last like a year or 2 years. And I was finally at a point where I was like, oh my God, so much has changed in literally just 6 months. I had gained a lot of confidence. I had achieved the body of my dreams. I had finally healed some parts of myself. I got a job, I was in a new degree, I found friends through that new degree. Everything was amazing and I felt like I had to share. And I am very grateful that I shared, and I'm also very grateful that a lot of people felt inspired by the video. But I do think that there's more to that story that just couldn't be said in a, 12-minute video. The first couple months of actually changing something about yourself feel incredible. You're ecstatic. You're proud of yourself. People notice it. People might compliment you on what you've done or what you've achieved. Everything feels great. You notice the change, you feel the change, and other people see the change as well. But then at some point, all of this kind of flatlines because now this incredible change that you've just been going through is your new normal. So if before you were a person who had a really hard time like getting out of bed and going to the gym and then afterwards going to work and being productive, and now you suddenly do it, this becomes your new normal and it just doesn't feel exciting anymore, even though it's still a huge thing. Just keeping this going is a huge thing. But it doesn't feel like a transformation anymore. It's the end point. This is now your life. And I feel like that is the trap. Like, we think that just because the novelty of it and the excitement of it dies off, it's not exciting or interesting anymore. But you being able to live a fulfilling life is exciting. If you're fulfilled by your very normal and very mundane routine, that is so exciting, because let me tell you, this is not to make fun of anyone or to like hate on people, but so many people hate their lives. It's so obvious. If you just, go out in public, there are so many people who are miserable and oftentimes are taking it out on other people. Go to a workplace. You have so many people who they're married, they don't get along with their spouse, they hate their children, they hate their home life, they hate how they look, they hate how they are. And it oftentimes makes them just very sour and very bad vibes. They're just not nice people to be around. If you start noticing those people, you actually realize what an amazing thing it is to enjoy your life, to actually like what you're doing on a daily basis. Even if it might not be perfect, even if it might not be aesthetic, just being happy and even being just content with what you're doing, even if it's not the most extraordinary thing, is a huge win. And it will always be a huge win. I feel like oftentimes we miss the point of self-improvement. I don't think that we're supposed to improve at a very fast pace forever and ever. I do think that you can always grow. There's not going to be a moment where you've learned enough or you've done enough. You can always do more. And I do think that it does make us happy and fulfilled to try to do more, to strive for more, to not just say, okay, I'm done. Now I'm just gonna do nothing for the rest of my life. I find a lot of purpose and a lot of fulfillment in the idea that I can always change. I can always improve. I can build a career, and then if I don't like it, I can burn it all down and start again. I can move, I can find new friends, I can start a sport from zero and I can get good at it. I can start a hobby from zero and I can get good at it. It's interesting, it's exciting. I think it is important to have these sort of projects and things that we strive towards for all our lives. But when it comes to our daily routines and our habits, I feel like there needs to be a point where we're like, okay, this is good. This is genuinely good and it's helping me. And it's also helping me do all of these other things that I'm trying to do in my life. It is a good thing to be comfortable in a routine. It is amazing to finally be comfortable with going to the gym if that was something you used to struggle with, or with public speaking. That's already growth. The point where you might be right now and where you are comfortable is already a win. And I feel like we should be grateful for that. And it's something we genuinely need to appreciate, because otherwise it can feel like it's never enough. And I find it crazy because I was recently going through my journal and I had a journal entry where I was like, yeah, everything feels so mundane and so boring and every day feels the same. And I do think that there are things I could have done better in that time. For instance, I remember I was taking very little time for myself. I was very stressed. I was just working until literally the second I would go to sleep. I could have taken more time for myself, more time to socialize. But at the end of the day, the fact that everything felt normal wasn't a bad thing. I was doing amazing. I was juggling, working out, training for a marathon, my part-time job, my full-time degree, and social media at the same time, which is amazing. This is something I wouldn't even have been able to dream of 2 years ago. And I was doing that. I felt like something had gone wrong, I did something wrong, but I didn't. It was just that I reached some of my goals. What I wanted to do was working, and I was still somehow unhappy. And I blame this on the fact that a lot of people make becoming their entire personality. I'm also part of those people. And it kind of leads you to not know who you are for a minute. You build this whole identity around becoming someone. You're always like, yeah, I'm in the process of becoming that girl. I'm in the process of becoming a gym girl and a productive girl and that and that. And that is amazing. That's so fun. But then you become more and then you're like, okay, what do I do now? And I feel like maybe I also made this mistake kind of with my YouTube channel, because I always framed things as, let me share my experience becoming that person and becoming the dream version of myself. Let me share my experience trying to build a healthy habit. Let me share my experience trying to do my degree. I started out doing a lot of vlogs on this channel and I think they were fun until I realized that kind of every single day looks the same. And sometimes people love that. Sometimes people hate that. It's so weird. I mean, on the internet, there's no pleasing everyone. You make videos that are too different and then people are like, well, I don't like all videos of you. You make videos that are too similar to each other and then they're like, yeah, well, this is the same. Your routine is the same. I think it's very hard sharing the becoming story on the internet because it's a hard process, and being subjected to the opinions of other people makes it harder. I don't care about the opinions of others, but sometimes I read comments and it just makes me think like, is this really true? And I think it also kind of led me to not want to share that much about my life anymore, and also kind of being torn about like what I should do with my content, because it feels a little bit wrong to forever share stories from the perspective of I'm trying to become that person and I'm taking you along with me. Because at what point do you actually say, I am that person now, and now I can actually share how I got here? Because yeah, you might have like achieved a goal and you might have finally built a routine, but you're still developing. Like I don't know everything. I'm still learning. But at what point does like the content shift from I'm trying to become her to, okay, I got here? I feel like this is extremely funny. My hair gets curlier and curlier with every minute, basically. Now, the thing about this in-between limbo stage is that in the worst case scenario, it actually might lead you to self-sabotage. You grow so fast that your nervous system cannot keep up with it, and you don't identify with your new self as fast as you should. So you might actually start not being consistent with your habits and your routines anymore. You might start not enjoying the things that you are doing anymore, and you might like wonder why you had been doing this all along. I feel like this is just basically your old self trying to take you back to that old version of yourself, because this new version can be really uncomfortable. And every single time you get out of your comfort zone, there's always gonna be this resistance pulling you back. And I feel like this is the most dangerous phase, because a lot of times two things happen. Either you actually genuinely just slide back into your old habits, even though you might have built a really consistent workout routine. You might just, skip the gym one time, a second time, a third time, a month, 2 months, 5 months, and then you're like, oh my God, how did I ever build this habit in the first place? You might just quit all of your healthy habits that you spent so much time and energy building, or you kind of stay stuck in between becoming and the old version of you. So you're constantly starting new, you're constantly falling off and then starting new again, and then you're constantly falling off and starting new again, and you never reach the point where you're like, okay, this is where I am, I'm happy with where I am. You're always reinventing, you're always figuring out new ways to do what you're trying to do, but you're never actually happy and content with where you are. And I feel like that is very dangerous. I feel like a very uncomfortable thing that some people, I think me including, need to realize is that you can get addicted to this idea of reinvention. This fake self-development is extremely addicting. When you watch like a really motivational video, you feel so much dopamine. You feel like you could genuinely become the queen of the world in the next second. You feel like you can change everything about your life, and then you change everything about yourself for a day, and then you slip back into your old habits, and then you start to cycle again. And this is addicting. This is exhilarating, but it's not gonna lead you anywhere. And it's crazy that sometimes the process of transforming actually almost makes us happier than completing the transformation, than actually getting to that point we've tried so hard to get to. Becoming and being in that transformation can be so exciting. You don't know what's gonna happen. There's a little bit of uncertainty. There's also so much potential. But then actually reaching that and realizing you fulfilled some of your potential is just like, man, like, okay, I did it now. And it can be scary, but you need to realize that it's a good thing. You worked so hard to get to where you are right now. You're allowed to enjoy it. You don't have to always strive for more and raise the bar. Like, you're allowed to enjoy it. Again, you're also allowed to change. If you genuinely enjoy it and you realize you want to do something different now, or you want to try something else, okay, go for it. But don't keep raising the bar, and don't keep being unhappy with where you are just because you could be doing more. You can always do more. You can be the prettiest, smartest, wealthiest, most intelligent, most successful person, and you will still want more if your mindset isn't right. Don't fall into the trap of being so addicted to becoming that you don't realize that you've gotten to where you wanted to get to, that you are the person you've always dreamed of becoming, and that you're allowed to enjoy it. Changing your life requires you to change your environment. I feel like there's no way around it. You're gonna outgrow some things and it's gonna suck. It's gonna be so bad. You might feel like your world is shattering. The thing is, when you change, obviously you outgrow the people, the situations you're in, even locations, like geographical locations. And I think that is normal. And I think it is extremely healthy to also let those things go. Because once you're developing and you're changing the way that you think about life, you're not going to relate to some of your old friends. And they're also going to stop relating to you unless you actually grow at the same pace, in the same direction, which is something that doesn't happen that often. Or at least it doesn't happen with all of your friends. I have so many friends from school that have grown in literally so many different directions. Some have gone to extremes. Some are like literally, I don't even recognize them anymore. I'm not like judging them for it. Everyone is allowed to develop, but we're not on the same vibe anymore. We're on such different vibes that it's hard to believe we ever were friends and we ever spent so much time together. You know, so some people that you maybe used to spend all of your time together with might feel not that close anymore just because you think differently, just because your life might look a little bit differently. You know, if, for instance, you start being really obsessed with the gym and your friends don't get it, that can drive a wedge between you. If there's no understanding for the fact that a person needs to evolve, it can drive a wedge between you. Friendships literally end over the fact that one person decided to do a little bit better to change their life, is maybe not as available as before, maybe has some healthier habits, some less toxic habits as before. You would think that this should not be an issue, right? Because the transformation or the change is positive. But people have an issue with literally everything. If you start setting boundaries, they will have an issue with this. It's going to be really healthy for you to start setting boundaries, but people are going to have an issue with this. If you actually become successful and, I don't know, you start earning good money, people are going to have an issue with this. They're not going to be happy for you. They're going to tell you think you're so high up and that you're looking down on them, even if you don't. You know what? That's about them. It's not about you. That's about people probably just being jealous and, you know, wanting to actually be where you are. I've also found that the people I've met later in life, so the people I've met through university, are always happier for me than the person I've met in my hometown and that I've, you know, met when I was 5 years old and I've grown together with them. And honestly, I get it, because can you imagine how annoying it must be that two people start in the exact same place and end up in two completely different places? Like, some people never have the courage to leave their hometown, never have the courage to actually do anything with their life. They will just stay in a situation and then constantly complain about it. And of course, they're gonna be like, oh, but it's unfair that you actually had the courage and went out there and put in a shit ton of work to get to where you are right now. But they also want to reach that thing, but ideally they would want to reach it without even putting in any work. And they genuinely might resent you for it. Like, this is what happened to me. I've had people say some really uncalled things to me. Like, one of my craziest friendship breakups that happened 2 or 3 years ago. It was literally before I filmed that Change My Life video. I was about to finish university. I was living in a different country. I had managed to do it all, to actually, you know, find a place where I felt comfortable, and I managed to find friends. I started university during COVID. It was a really hard time, but I had managed to go through it all. I was so happy about changing my study degree, and I genuinely just wanted to celebrate that with her. I remember I was like in my lab coat in the lab. Technically, we're not allowed phones and everything. And I look at my watch and there's this message that's long. Like, on the watch, you don't see a lot, but it was long, where she was just telling me basically 100 things that she hates about me. Literally, like, uncalled for, came out of nowhere. My response to this was basically, first, I was really upset because, like, you know, obviously, this was unexpected. And then I offered this person to have a FaceTime call to actually discuss, because I said, hey, I can see that you're very upset about something. Let's just discuss, because honestly, I don't get it. Like, I'm not okay with just being insulted in 10 different ways through a message. If there's something to discuss, we can do it on a call. She didn't want to do it. And the whole situation kind of developed, like, not in a bad way, but it was so weird. Then she actually, like, texted me happy birthdays if nothing happened. And, like, at some point, you know, I was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't get it. And I'm so grateful that I don't get it, because I do not want to be in the mindset of this type of person. I've tried my best to keep this friendship alive, but if people just grow apart, sometimes you have to let it grow apart. You cannot keep everyone with you. You cannot force people to love you. You cannot force people to accept you. You're gonna find new friends. I hate to say this, but you need to be prepared to lose people and, you know, things, connections along the way. But trust that there is always something better waiting for you. Because after I stopped having contact with this person, I mean, she did did try in the most backstabbing, disgusting ways to kind of like get back at me. She started rumors about me. It's not a good sign for her. While all of this happened, I found such amazing people. And guess how I found them? I think it's literally just the universe showing me. I literally just sat down in one class and I was like, hey, I'm Maria, what's your name? I was sitting in between two girls. We're friends to this day. And they're always happy for me when I tell them something. Like, they always celebrate with me. They are never hateful. They're never jealous. I also found like a whole bunch of friends, whole friend group. I was sitting in the class and my website wasn't working, like the university website, and I just turned to the people behind me and I was like, hey, it's working for you. We go out regularly now. Through them, I met other people. Through those other people, I met other people. I'm so grateful for where I am right now, but I really do think, looking back, that friendship had to end. And maybe it had to end in the weirdest, most like heinous way possible, but it did have to end, and I'm so grateful it ended. Ending friendships, relationships, cutting off communication with people can feel very lonely. It can feel very sad. If you genuinely go about it in an honest and open way, it's probably not a you problem. Like, a lot of people do hate other people randomly because they're jealous, because they would just love to be you. So being lonely and losing friendships is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's oftentimes just a sign that you're growing. And it's a necessary, but sometimes very sad part about growing. Trust that the people who will fit into your new life will show up. Like, you will find them. Don't worry about it. Sometimes it takes longer than it might seem in videos because it's not just like this, you know? I can say, like, yeah, my life changed in the last 6 months and I found so many new friends, but it wasn't just like this. I had to take some initiative, first of all. I had to keep the conversations going. I had to actually suggest that we meet. I had to put in an effort. I had to be honest and open. It is uncomfortable. It takes work. That's how friendships are. But you will find them. Like, they will find their way to you. I actually have a newsletter in my drafts that I'm about to send out about this exact topic. So if you want the longer version of this, and if you're interested in my day-to-day thoughts and also in my monthly recap, which I always send out through my newsletter, click the link down below. You can find it there. Now, if you're in the phase where you're kind of stuck, you've maybe reached some of your goals, you've built routines, you've built healthy habits, but you're kind of like, you know, not really happy about it, this is what I want to leave you with. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings leave. You cannot rely on how you feel all of the time. I do think it's great to trust your instincts, to listen to your heart, to sometimes make decisions that are not that rational just because your heart tells you to. There's really something behind that. But we have so many day-to-day fluctuations that might make us feel like we're doing something wrong in life, like we're not enough. And don't listen to that. You've put in so much effort to get here. You're allowed to feel happy about it, to just like bathe in this good feeling. Think about a version of you 2 years ago. Think about how proud that person would be of you. Think about how far you've come and about the fact that genuinely this is something to be grateful for and to be really happy about. It's something you should celebrate. If you think back to 2 years ago, at least for me, I was in such a different place. I was, way more emotional. It was so easy to get me spiraling. I was so worried about life. I had like literally existential dread. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Help me. Just being able to wake up in the morning and feel calm and content is a gift. I don't want to sound too woo-woo-y, I feel like I'm a very rational person on so many levels, and I'm not that like woo-woo, but feeling good on a daily basis is something amazing. It's something a lot of people don't have. And the fact that you've grown and that you have evolved since 2 years ago is already so good. Some people never evolve. Honestly, pat yourself on the back, throw yourself a little party, okay? Celebrate it. Romanticize your life. Celebrate the fact that you're alive every single day because it is amazing. And you having the courage to change, to try out things, to actually strive to be better is something worth celebrating. If the change doesn't feel dramatic and exciting anymore, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. You're on the right path. It doesn't have to feel exciting to be good for you. Even if it feels normal, that's the point. You've made it. Congratulations. Thank you so much for watching. I make videos about the truth behind doing the thing and changing your life. Not just videos that are supposed to make you feel motivated, but then lose that motivation after 24 hours. If that's something you're into, please subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.